Hi. I feel the same way.
Oh my gosh, I've just been like so jittery all morning, like counting
Yeah,
down minutes. I'm like shaking a little bit. I'm so excited to meet you.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh,
I've,
so much.
I've been describing you all week as a love bug. Like I've
Yeah,
found this love bug of a man.
I love that. I heard you say that, and that's why I like
Mm,
started. I posted it yesterday, and I was like,
mm,
yeah, that's it. That's my new
mm.
descriptor. I love it.
Dono, did you get a haircut just for this occasion?
No, I wish it was just. I grew my hair out for the first time in my entire life ever, and so I had no
Right,
idea what it was going to turn into, but I didn't know
right.
how to take care of it, and so it was like
Mm.
super matted in the back and stuff. I had to just do like a fresh restart, but I got it nice for you this morning.
You got it nice. All sorts of restarts happening now.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
really feels like it for sure.
yeah. Can you tell me, let's just like create a container. So, um, like just give us the basics, who you are, where you are, what you do, and then I want to, if you're cool with this, at the end. So like Thursdays here, usually we do this prayer circle. Are you
Yeah,
good with like at the end we do a prayer?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Um, who are you and where are you and what do you do in the world?
Well, can I tell you this first?
Mm,
Because now that we're here together, I just wanted to express like so much gratitude to you. I was just blown away by the fact that you like shared my video, and I didn't end up winning the Speaker Slam contest because there was another really great speech ahead of me. But just like the attention and the exposure that I got from just like you sharing my video, which may have just felt like really simple for you, but it was massive for me. I had people calling me, being like freaking out, being like, "Did you see who did this? Did you see who did this?" And it's important things I have in my life. Uh-oh, did I lose you?
no, we're here. We're here.
Okay.
You're back.
It's so important to me, and I just I'm really grateful that you shared it, and then that you were willing to like do this live with me. I mean, this is massive for me, and so I just wanted to say thank you before I even like jumped in. Um, it was just it's like a blessing. It's like a dream come true. So I really really appreciate it.
My happiness. And you're radiant. Like, how could I not? It was just
Oh,
like the, radiant. And I'm not crazy about the word revolution
hmm.
because it just, there's so many images it conjures up about war and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. So, I think the word I prefer is like evolution, but it's like you are evolving the way education happens and relationship. And like my word of the year right now is intimacy, like in all of its forms. Like you're getting really intimate with your students because it's
Yeah.
just really, you're a heart-centered teacher. Do you like to refer to yourself as an educator or a teacher?
I think I go by youth advocate. I think that's
Youth
my biggest
advocate.
one. Yeah, because I think that when I think about teacher and educator, so just a little background, I didn't go to school for teaching, like at all. I had no desire to work with kids. And this woman named Mary Lecter was running an acting company, and she asked me to come to like see what it was like, and I laughed at her. I was like, "Ill, like I'm not gonna be with kids. No way." I was like 20 years old. I had no idea, and I went in there, and it was just like it was glorious. It was so fun. The kids immediately responded, and I had so much fun. And so I did a lot of positive youth development programs. So lots of after school stuff. I've taught like gymnastics. I've taught public speaking. I've taught like acting. I've taught pretty much anything after school, which focuses so much more on who the person is versus like their grades.
Mhm.
And so when I moved into the classroom, I noticed and got really frustrated with the hierarchy, right? And so being a teacher or an educator kind of puts me at this place of power above the kids. And for me, I feel like my mission is really to empower kids and to be more of like a servant leader for them. And
Mhm.
so I think youth advocate resonates more with me because I've never really felt like a teacher. I've never really felt accepted in the educational space because of the work that I do. Um, because I struggle so much with the same conversation about academics. I get so frustrated with it to think that that's the only thing that kids have in their life is like school.
Hmm.
So for me, I've really kind of adopted like youth advocate recently, but educator, I feel like is at the core of what I do, education.
Hmm.
It just looks different. And so I'm trying to find a different way to describe it and also to kind of be more inclusive of other people who want to advocate and work with kids who maybe
Yeah.
don't want to be educators. Because for me, there's so much more we can do with kids and do for kids that doesn't just stay in the classroom, you know?
Mhm. Okay, if you're just joining us, this is Donovan Taylor Hall. You can find him on Instagram at DonoFriend. And where are you in the world? Are you in
I'm,
Oakland?
yeah, I'm in Oakland only for another like 2 months and then I'm on my way out.
Hmm. Do you want to tell us where you're going?
Yeah, so the school that I'm at currently has been a blessing. I mean, it's such a great community, and they had this extra class where non-credential teachers could teach. But basically, being in the Bay Area is so expensive, and they pay well, but it's not, you know, it's not even a teacher salary, and so you can imagine that it's not enough to really be out here. And they changed the credentialing program, so now I need to stay. I have to get a credential to stay, and I think if I went to school for teaching, I think they would beat all this out of me, honestly. I think I became the teacher I am by not going to school for teaching. And so I'm just taking this opportunity to jump into what I really want to do, like my real goal, my real vision for years. And so I'm going to move to Tampa because that's where my family is. Because basically I could use a couple of months of not having to pay rent to
Hmm.
focus just on creating my content and stuff like that. So I'm going to go to Tampa and also Virginia and kind of back and forth until I can afford to be able to live on my own again. So it's kind of tough. It feels like going backwards a little bit, but also it feels like a blessing to be able to go spend time with my mom and not have to worry about, you know, like surviving as much and worry about kind of just doing my work.
Hmm. This is um, this is everything that's right and everything that's wrong with how society is set up. So, you have this passion, you have this proven effectiveness. Proven effectiveness. I mean, the kids are showing up in their fullness. Like, I want you to talk to us about your philosophy of empowering youth and teaching. And even I was just watching a video of yours this morning talking to a mother. Like,
Oh,
it's like this is what heart centered is, right? Like,
yeah,
everybody's in, every part of the student is in.
yeah,
Their so-called failures, their victories, their fears, all of that, and the parents are in, and your
yeah,
whole self is in. Like, um, but what's so wrong with this scenario is, when I used to do one-on-one strategy work, I never called myself a coach. I would hear from so many women, because it was mostly women that showed up, that like, well, I don't have the credentials. And I'd be like, your passion is the credential. Like, people who are passionate, you become, everything I've learned through obsession. I finished high school. I didn't go to university. I talked my way in. I picked up the phone. I went to every luncheon. I went to every conference. I just showed up, and that kind of enthusiasm, which is a higher vibration feeling, it just burns its way through all the mire and the red tape and the policy.
yeah.
And you're like, the way you show up is like an embodiment of that. So this is where I want to go next. I want to talk about, let's definitely talk about your philosophy, but tell us about, it's like, has there been any resistance to you being just purely passionate and non-credentialed? I mean, obviously you've just hit this wall, which is Oakland. So you're proven effective. You've got this crew of love around you and happy, fulfilled, empowered youth.
Yeah.
And the quote unquote power, the structures that be, let's say, are saying you got to get credentialed or you can't stay.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bummer. I just, and something I want to be really clear about too, because a lot of times people will say like, oh, well, more teachers should be like you. I mean, I never pit myself against other teachers because if they're in it for the kids, I support them 100%. And doing the work I do and teaching the curriculum I teach, which is so based and so introspection, like I get to know the kids on a level that other teachers don't really have the capacity to do. And so for me, it's been really like an honor to be able to work with teachers, but also I've had a lot of just undervaluing or kind of like minimalizing what I do. I had a teacher who I worked with who told me one time, like, she was like, well, your job is, excuse me, they were like, your job is to like have fun with the kids and we'll do like the real work. And I remember being like, yo, like, I am absolutely doing the real work. Like, ask your students how they feel in your classroom and then ask them how they feel in mine, right? And so I think that sometimes people will think that they don't really know what the work looks like. And so they'll think that it's kind of very foo-foo and stuff, which is really frustrating because it is, like you said, I was really obsessed. I went to grad school for social entrepreneurship and I took like an educational psychology class and I was blown away because the things that they were talking about, like self-determination and motivation, no one in that class was going to be a teacher. They were all going to be like counselors and stuff. And I was like, why are teachers not learning this? Like how to build motivation in students, how to help them build self-determination. And I got obsessed with it. I was in like the lab every night, just like reading articles and creating curriculum based on it. And then I read a lot about positive psychology. And I had been looking for like actual tools, tangible tools to give kids and not just to say like, be happy. But actually give them the tools to create that for themselves, but also to be able to deal with their struggles. And I just was kind of like ringing the alarm and being like, why are we not doing this? Why are we not doing this? And so I haven't had teachers push back in a sense of like, they don't think it's important, but it's almost like they just don't take me seriously. But what happens is they lean on me for a lot of emotional labor. And that happens a lot, especially with Black educators. A lot where
and we're emotional creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so they'll call my phone and be like, I know you're teaching, but can you leave your classroom to come deal with this student because she like has a relationship with you? And I'm like, well, why don't you have a relationship with that student, right? Like, why don't you build that connection? But I would just do it because I was so invested in the kids. So, I mean, I could go to school for like my boss. I love my boss. I love my school, but my boss was like, you could go and do an art degree and then teach your stuff through art. And I was like, no, I don't want to do art. Like, I want to do this specific curriculum. I want to do this specific type of work. And I don't want to have to go through years of education to do what I'm already doing.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't make any sense to do that.
There's a brilliant futurist. You may know him. He's since passed, Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller is the inventor of the geodesic dome. And his perspective was always like, if you want to change the system, leave the system and let the old system die and you create a new organism and you move forward with that. Like some of us, I know there's heart-centered, dynamic thinking people who are working in the government who are just like, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to change the system from within. And my way and what, and clearly like the path you're blazing is just like, I'm going to just walk and go blaze my own trail. And that's how I think the new earth is going to come into being. Okay, tell us through story. Like, you don't have to name names, but like, tell us about the kids that you're working with and like the stories closest to your heart. Give us the before and after stories. And I know that you are a before and after story, which we'll get to.
Yeah. I think a lot about, especially my boys. Working with middle school boys, I mean, first of all, I hear so many people say negative thing about middle schoolers. Like, that's such a common, it's so rare to meet someone and me tell them I work with middle schoolers and them have a positive reaction unless they're a middle school teacher, because I think that we have this really negative perception of middle schoolers. And I think a lot of time people are just projecting. They're projecting how they felt about themselves in middle school. Because for me, I see the sides of them that's tough and I see the sides of them that's a lot, but also, I mean, I think it's really beautiful. And I also see how loving and kind they can be. And I love how receptive they are to the work. And I would think that boys would be kind of resistant to it. And there's definitely areas where I've gone where the boys have been more resistant, but I understand that comes from their history and their experience with educators. And so I don't take it offensively because I get it. Like, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't trust me either, right? Like, who is this random dude finally saying that they care about me in 8th grade? Like, I don't know who this guy is. But the kids that I got to work with, I had a group for 2 years that was at the school I'm at right now. They were so close to me that I actually got a tattoo for that group that says Super Love.
You're setting the bar high.
I mean, yeah. And so my current group was like, "Are you going to get a tattoo for us?" And I was like, "It encompasses all of you, my friend."
There's a
But
lot of teachers right now just like, oh my, I cannot.
I mean, honestly, I'll tell you this right now. Like when people say people should be like you, I'm like, I mean, it's a lot. So
Yeah.
good luck. I don't think that everyone should be because it's kind of hard to sustain sometimes.
Okay, so
Um,
so tell us how you get it. Like, what are they? What's the disposition of the kids, and how do you get in there?
I think establishing safety and trust from the beginning. I
How do you
always
do that?
whenever I get a new group of students, I spend like the first month to 2 months of just getting to know them and literally just showing them who I am and giving them space to get comfortable and to feel safe. And a lot of times people will see videos where I'm talking to kids and saying really positive things and they'll ask me how they receive it. And sometimes kids are really resistant to it. And again, I don't think that's about me as much as it's about their experience and how weird it is to have this teacher who is so different from the other teachers. One of the I can't say who yet. I wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to, but I just got interviewed by a pretty big show, and they're doing a story on me next week. And they interviewed some of my students, and one of my boys said that I was the first teacher that he felt like liked him as a person, and how massive that was for him. Where he was like, I want to show up more, and I want to be able to to make this person proud because they care about me and like me as a person. So for me, I spend time building safety and trust, but also disconnecting like their idea of great. Because what happens with kids, especially middle schoolers, is they're looking so deeply for identity. They're at that age where they're trying to figure out who they are, and no one is talking to them. And the only system of validation that they have in life is great, right? Unless they have parents who can talk to them, which is still tough because parent syndrome happens, right? They don't want to hear it from their parents. But kids are looking for safety and to feel valued. And I found out through talking to kids that a lot of kids think that their teachers don't like them if they don't have good grades, or their teachers don't care about them if they have good grades, or the teacher will only care about me if I continue to work this super hard. And so I have to disconnect that. One of my students is here. I have to disconnect that their identity is not based in their grades, and like my care and love for them comes from their humanity versus coming from their grades. To me, I tell them all the time, like, I don't care about your grades, and people are like, oh, don't say that. I'm like, it's true, right? Like, of course we want to pay attention to them because they help us track our progress, but like it's just something that helps us recognize where we're at. But what kids recognize it as is like, this is my value as a person. Like this is how the world sees me, is through my grades, and I don't. So I tell them that. And honestly, most of the time the kids are just really like, once they hear that, they're like, oh, okay. I don't have to like stress about my grades as much in here. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to do the work. It just means they're not like connected to that, you know?
So let's jump cut to. So how old are the kids that you're working with? What's the age range?
Like 12 to 13.
Okay, so let's jump cut to like 10, 15 years down the road. So we've got one kid who's really been indoctrinated into the system that grades are baked into your identity. It's part of your value, yeah. And then we've got the other kid who's just been loved on for who they are, right?
Yeah.
So the indoctrinated kid is probably working at that behavior just carries on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're working really hard, denying your own radiance, your own wisdom, the own needs of your body, the love in your community, to earn enough money to buy stuff to impress people who don't really love and respect you, and vice versa. And then in doing that, you're just pillaging your life and the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Versus you've got a heart-oriented, I'm valued just because I showed up on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm valued for my laughter, for how I see the world, for the tone of my voice, for for my emotional literacy. I can do anything I want. I'm valued just when I show up when I walk down the neighborhood street. I'm valued just when I walk in the boardroom. And if I'm valued, you're valued, which means I have a very different definition of stakeholders.
Yeah.
Because someone saw all of me, I see all of everybody else. I mean, this is how you seed and nourish a truly inclusive approach to life. Like, all of me is in. That means all of you is in. and
Yeah.
everybody's in at the table, and we look at planetary resources and different political views and racial and all of it.
Yeah.
This is you're helping kids before they get broken.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's how I mean, that's like my biggest thing is because I looked at I think when I was maybe 24 or 25, I found out that suicide was like the second leading cause of death for 10 to 24-year-olds in America. And I remember just
10,
thinking, 10
excuse
to
me, 10
24, 10 to 24 babies, right? Babies,
babies.
like our
Yeah.
precious babies, 10 years old, killing themselves, right? And even in some places like in South Dakota, the Lakota Reservation, kids as young as like 7, right? Are killing themselves because of just the lack of support and love that they need. Um, and I looked at that, and then I looked at like the self-help market for adults, and I realized how much money people were spending every year to try to fix and try to like connect with themselves. And I was like, why are we missing this, right? Something is missing here, right? If people are going through all these years of education and then as an adult having to do this whole new education to undo the harm that was done to them as kids or to completely reestablish themselves as a person, it doesn't make any sense to me, because in middle school, that's when they're thinking about their identity. That's when they start to build these habits of being hard on themselves or being mean to themselves or not liking. That's when it starts. People will say that's just that age, and I will not have that. I will not have that, because I had a girl who, she's one of my stars. I hope she's in here. She's one of my stars, right? She came to my room, and she knows I tell a story all the time because I'm doing a TED talk about this. She came to my room, and she's the kind of girl where teachers would literally have to like take the pen out of her hand. We'd be like 3 sentences, and she's like, I just need to write 3 more pages, because she was so stressed out doing enough, right? I'm like, you gotta go, you're gonna be late. And she's like, no, it's not good enough, right? She was so intense. She had all 4s, which is like all A+s basically. And she came to my room one day, and she was like, I thought she was gonna ask for extra credit or something. So she said, I have all 4s. And then immediately she's like, so I have this problem. I have all 4s. And then immediately her face broke. And she was like, and I hate myself. And she was like, why? She was like, why? Right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was like, yo, your grades don't determine how you you view yourself, right? Like, those things are disconnected. And so we worked together. I still coach her to this day. She's in 9th grade. We worked together to help her release that pressure, those expectations, to understand where those expectations came from. And so now she's like championing self-care, and she's championing like, releasing, like, I'm doing too many things right now. I'm overburdened. I need to like step away from stuff. And she's in 9th grade, and she's already giving herself grace and compassion and love. And when she's struggling, she's not mean to herself about struggling. She can be with herself in the struggle. And I mean, that's beautiful. I had another boy, because I wanted to tell you this too. I had another boy who I used to sit with. He's my heart. I mean, they're all my heart, but I used to sit with him when he was upset, and he would just like sit there. And he just like wouldn't say anything to me. And I would be so stressed. The communicator in me is like, talk to me, I'm here, trust me, I love you, right? And after a while I learned he was just like, yeah,
It's
I'm
like being it's like being in a romantic relationship. Yeah.
like literally, I'm like,
I love you. Don't you need me? Yeah.
why can't you see me? I'm right here, right? And then at the end of the year, that was like when we were in 7th grade, and the end of his 8th grade year, he just told me, he was like, we were like cleaning my room, and he just looked up and he was like, I think I'm like better with my emotions. And he just said that randomly. And I like looked at him and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I think I'm just like more open with my emotions now. And he like went back to cleaning, and I was like, freaking out in the background and stuff. But just seeing that transformation of like allowing someone to be in there, being afraid of someone being with you, sitting with someone, building that trust, knowing that they're there, and then practicing vulnerability and practicing being open and sharing your emotions. It was beautiful. I told him I was going to bother him until the day I die. Like, I don't care how old he gets. He told me when he said, I thought you stopped loving me when you weren't my teacher anymore. And I was like, buddy, that's not how love works. That's not how love works. So I think, I think that we can save a lot of hurt and harm that happens. I think struggle is a thing that happens. It's a part of life, and suffering is a part of life at times. I get that. But I also think that so much of the hurt comes from that disconnect from ourselves. And why not catch them when they're young? Because imagine what they can do with that energy and that time if they're not trying to undo all this harm. Imagine what their 20s could be like. imagine what literally what their 20s could be like if they're actively pursuing and pushing for things that they think are important and their passions. They know their core values, they know their strengths, they move with conviction through the world because they don't have to do this whole I'm self-conscious. I hate myself since I was a kid. Like they can let go of all that.
Amanda, imagine what the world would be like. I mean, the girl you described who got all the fours, the A pluses, but was conscious enough to know she was still hating on herself. That girl is 40 years old and she is the CEO of many companies in North America right now. And she's on her second marriage and she's probably has, quiet anxiety attacks that she's not talking to anybody about.
Yep.
And she's making really skewed decisions about her health and the state of resources and all of that. And what you're talking about is that, I mean, you're talking about one's grades and one's worth not being related. You're using the word disconnect, but you're also using the word disconnect in the terms of, I mean, it's a really Buddhist perspective or a more metaphysical perspective, which is, how I put it is like when we're not aware of our divine nature, that we're a spiritual being having this human experience, that we are supported, something greater is breathing us. It's not even a question of worth. Life doesn't ask if you're worthy. You're just here and you're being supported for who you are. When we get disconnected from that, that's darkness. That's ego. That's the small self. And when we make decisions from that place, we're just making decisions from this like wounded place.
Yep.
And by the time kids get to you, a lot, when you're 10 to 14, a lot of messaging, we know this, everybody here knows this, wise people, but so much messaging has already been baked in. And like everything else just becomes this unlearning. But if you can be helping the kids to unlearn before they get to making decisions about their education or marrying somebody or making babies and repeating the same thing or we're obsessed. I know you know this, but we're obsessed in this culture with productivity and materialism, and it's really creating this kind of hell realm on this planet where we have kids who are 7 years old, Indigenous kids, and otherwise taking their lives. So if this is like a out of left field question. Do you know what your name means? What Donovan means?
I don't know. My mom said that there was like a bunch of definitions, but the one that they saw was strong warrior.
Oh, great. Okay, so I don't believe in destiny, but doesn't that seem a little bit destined? If I were to come to like the Donovan Academy of Youth Empowerment, you can use that name. You just consider this a consultation, by the way. If I'm going to come to the Donovan Academy of Youth Empowerment and love, the Love Bug League, and you're going to train me. So it's my first day of you educating me on how to empower youth. Can you just throw down with like, what do you want to get into me as a youth empowering person on right away? First day, go. Teach me.
First day is for me wouldn't be about learning. You know what I mean? First day would be about landing, right? Like you're here. And I think before learning starts, I believe so deeply in this. Before learning starts, safety, trust, and care. Right. And I say I love my students, and I know a lot of teachers feel uncomfortable with that. And I think that that's fine because I'm very comfortable telling people I love them. That's cool with me. But I do think that teachers should tell kids they care. Right. I do believe that personally. You don't have to love, but I do think you should care. And for me, it would be like helping them land, and that's a part of the learning. That's a part of the learning is how do I show up in the world and allow myself to be seen, be safe, and trust that this is where I need to be. When we jump right in, that's why I take this month, because I'm like, we'll get to the academics, right? We'll get to the academics, but who are we? Who are you? We would do like honestly, we would play a bunch of games because I'm such a game person. I love having fun, and I developed a lot of games that really help kids be able to step out of themselves a lot. And so that's probably what I do, honestly. But I've been teaching this stuff. I talked to a middle school group. It was like 200 kids, and I pitched this program to them, and like 86 of them signed up for it. And I was like, that's math. 86 of them didn't come, which was fine because that's too many kids, but 86 of them signed up. And I've been teaching tons and tons and tons of skills, from like empathy to resilience to advocacy to communication, requesting support, setting boundaries, recognizing strengths, all those things. And I'm going to continue to develop them. But recently I've been looking at 3 skills. I'm writing a book for kids, like a guide around 3 skills that help transform them. Because I feel like at this age, it's not enough to just be like, I love you and I care about you. The reason I'm moving into doing content creation for kids, the reason I want to be like a Mr. Rogers and have a show and stuff, is because I want kids to learn 3 fundamental skills that can literally transform the way that they see themselves, the way that they see they see their learning and their growth, and the way that they see the world. And I just genuinely believe these are the 3 skills that have resonated the most with students. These are the 3 skills I see kids to this day still using.
Can you tell us those 3 skills?
Yeah, so it's self-talk, like how you talk
Self-talk.
to yourself, how you talk to yourself about yourself. Growth mindset, but growth mindset specifically, not about learning academic stuff, growth mindset in specific of growing with yourself as a person, right? Like, how do you grow with yourself compassionately? That's a big thing for me. And then the last one is gratitude. Because self-talk transforms the way kids see themselves, right? It transforms the way that they see themselves, that they're learning how to talk positively to themselves, or how to decipher between what's noise and what's useful. Growth mindset makes learning safe when you understand that mistakes are a part of learning, and you understand that school is about, or just learning whatever is about, growing and expanding versus shrinking and hiding to feel safe. And then gratitude transforms the way that they see their families, they see themselves, they see the world. Like, I mean, it's those 3 things to me, especially at this age, it can change. It can change. It can change so much for them, and so quickly too, because those are the 3 things that they're really mean to themselves, right? They're so caught up in their struggle that they don't see what's happening around them, so it's difficult for them to give gratitude. And then they also they're afraid of school, or they have some kind of hang up with school, whether it's I have to be perfect, right, or I'm not wanted, or you are 75% of the kids where you just go unnoticed, right? You're in the middle and no one sees you. You can't get to the all A's. Your grades are not bad enough where people are spending extra time with you, but you're here and no one sees you. And so those are the 3 things I want to teach. My biggest dream, besides having a TV show, is I want to go on a tour. That would be the biggest gift in the world, is to go on a tour and go to schools across the country and talk to kids about these things, and to equip them with them and not attach them to grades, right? Like, these are not about grades. I'm not going to grade you on your ability to give gratitude, but I'm going to teach you these skills, and I'm going to talk to you and help you discover why these things are important and how they can help you. And that's what's been helpful with these kids, for sure.
This is virtue-driven education.
I kept saying I didn't know what to call it, and then people recently, since I've started putting my stuff up, have been like, "Oh, you're heart-centered," or like, "This is like the nurturing, loving approach," or like, I just love hearing that these things are real, because for me, I just felt like I was kind of throwing things out.
Donovan, this is all that's real. Love is real. I don't, like my, there's a more common saying, like in the new age space, of like, only love is real. Well, that still creates division. It's like, love is real. Love is real. The joy is real. The happiness is real. The breakthroughs are real. The connections are real. This is real. Anything that isn't that is actually not real. That's not true. Anything that's disconnection is not true. Nature is real, Can you tell us, just give me a minute on your path, because you were one of those maybe kind of broken kids, yeah?
Yeah. I figured out a way of being that made me feel safe, which was being good. So I got good grades. My dad died when I was a kid. I immediately was like, I have to be good, right? I don't want to be a burden on my mom. I love my mom to death. My other brothers all acted in their own ways. They acted out in their own ways. Mine, it was like, get good grades, have friends, be nice. And I was struggling. I was suffering. I was so sad. I didn't know who I was, especially being like a boy of color living in like an all-white neighborhood in Virginia, and dealing with that, having neighbors yell at me when I was a kid, to dealing with like sexuality and just all these things. I was doing it alone and I was hiding it. And then when I got to high school, it was the opposite. I was like, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to get wild. And I got really deep into substance abuse. I got really deep into partying and really struggling. And then depression happened and things got so bad to by the time I was in college, I almost killed myself because I was so unhappy with myself. I was doing things that were bad. I was hurting people. I was hurting myself. I felt so upset with myself all the time. And then, you know, when I had this event that changed my life where I couldn't do it anymore, I couldn't take my life anymore after seeing the aftermath of suicide. I had to learn, what can I do to take care of myself? What can I do to fix what feels broken inside of me? And then I was working with kids at the same time. So I just started teaching some of that stuff to them. So I was like, well, this is cool. Like, why can't I teach this to kids? And then to see kids reach into it and kids use it and kids be open to the love and be open to the warmth and open to safety and stuff. I just got on this mission. I was like, I want to teach kids these things. I want to talk to kids about these things. And now, you know, my path has led me to there are so many people out here who are talking and giving good and teaching people how to thrive, and you know, like you, right? People out here doing really important work, helping people feel that love in their life. But there's not enough people doing that for kids. There's like, who is doing that for kids? And so I'll do it.
You know, one of the reasons why they're not doing it for kids, I feel so compelled to help in any way I can, by the way. If you want to jam later on how to build, I can see what you're building.
Yes.
I'm totally here for you. Can I just go down that path for a minute?
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons, you know, so I can see what you're moving into is become a content creator and really be rogue and be outside of the system. And it's going to free you up, you know, and then you increase, and now I'm just speaking in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Your market's going to increase exponentially. And capacity for viral sharing is going to be great and all of that. But the reason people don't use content so much to service children is because there's not as much money in it, which is sad and forsaken, because they're not the decision makers. Like the decision maker, who's the person in the household with the credit card that is going to throw down the $50 or the $300 or the $1,000 for your mentorship, coaching, whatever you want to call it, program. And I've worked with so many entrepreneurs who just, then the answer becomes, you know, how do you get to the parent who's going to make the purchasing decision? And I think that's like a necessary, I don't want to say evil, it's like a necessary consideration.
Yeah, I mean,
right? Consider like how you're going to make money on this. Yeah, we should jam about this because there's ways. There's like, I could see you aligning with a nonprofit foundation so that you can just, I mean, you will always, you know, Donovan, the name, the warriorship, the initiation, this is how many great beings come to like do their work in the world, right? We go through these very dark nights. It's really an initiation. You're just burning off all of these illusions. You create this situation, you create something so dense, like suicidal ideation and all this depression and suicide around you. So it's like we just almost become like slingshots. It's like building up our strength. You push through, and like that's, you know, you've had your rebirth moment of like, I'm going to do what it takes to be alive, to be vibrant. And what I know to be true, but like when we go through those experiences and we come to the other side, is that a few things happen. One, we commit. And we may slip in the commitment, but we commit to never go back. I mean, you will never, you know, we're all going to have our challenges, but you're going to do whatever it takes to be in the light, you know? And also when you really let that change affect you, as it clearly has, like you're also committing, you commit to being merciful and helping other people. Like, you know, at the top of this conversation, you use the term servant leadership. And that is love. That, I mean, that's a very modernized term in the space of organizational development for loving kindness. Like your happiness matters as much to me as my happiness, because on some level, whether you're cognitive of it or not, we come in from the same source. And I can tell, you know, you're feeling I don't think now I'm getting a bit psych 101 on you, but it's like you're not internalizing the pain of those kids. If you were, you wouldn't be healthy and you
Yeah.
know, get all riddled with illness, but you are aware of those kids' pain and you're going to do anything you can. You can do whatever you can to heal that. Yeah. So all healers were wounded, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I see what you're doing, Donovan Taylor Hall.
I love
And
that
it's
you use my full
beautiful.
name. Thank you so much. Because I like love my full name so much. It just reminds me of my dad a lot. And yeah, I've learned these things, and kids are sacred. Youth is sacred.
Yes.
They are divine embodiment, and we lose that, and we don't treat them that way. And I think that's why I'd love to continue talking to you about this, because for me, like, I don't want to gatekeep this work for kids. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do I create content and how do I get myself in the position that's sustainable for me, right? So I can actually have a living and not be suffering all the time, for not being able to pay my rent, which is wild. But also, like, how can I create stuff that kids can access? How can I create stuff that when kids are in those moments, right, when they're 14 years old and they're in their room and it's late at night and they're crying, which happens all of the time to these kids. They're struggling. They think no one loves me, no one cares, right? They have access. They say, like, I know where I can go to feel loved and feel cared for. And I know that obviously I'm not going to develop relationships with every kid that watches my stuff, but at the same time, I'm going to put my heart and soul into everything that I create for kids so they do feel it, and also give them tools and give them skills. So I'm not just saying, you know what I mean, like, love yourself. Like, how do I love myself? How do I do that? I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to teach them how to do it.
I just want to stay on the business for a second. Are you going to do a Kickstarter?
I just started youth coaching. So I just started offering youth coaching. And then I'm still trying to figure out, I mean, because to tell you the truth, like, people have asked me to do PDs and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm kind of getting
What's a
away.
PD?
Oh, I'm sorry, professional development.
Uh,
Like schools have PD.
you can tell I never went to college. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because like schools are like PD. If you're a teacher, they're like, oh, I know PD. We have PD. But I feel like I'm kind of getting away from the work with kids, and so I'm trying to figure out how to do that at the same time as, like, basically making content for kids and teaching other adults who want to do this work with kids how to do it. I'm just at this really interesting point where I'm really open. You know, I'm really open and kind of seeing what's happening. I'm writing, like, kids books. I've been writing kids books for years, and I've been afraid to put them out.
Do you want a bit right now? We can do
Come
this
on,
live.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. It's all online. It's all online. So, you know, yes, take your heart and your body and your voice and be in person with people and do that PD stuff, because like, what we should do is, like, you figure out who you're serving and who makes the purchasing decisions and how do you get to who cares about what you have.
Yeah.
So it's like, I see, you know, the choke point, a leverage point is a better word, is you getting to teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You really want to change the world. You get to teachers because that the radiance you offer them is going to spread out to thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids. And then you get to the kids, and you are changing the future. I mean, you are contributing to the new earth. I think to get to the getting to the teachers, that's grind and that's hustle, and the doors are just going to open for you. Getting to the kids, that as your own organization, you just go crowdfund that. You know,
Yeah.
we can get you thousands of parents who want to support your energy in the world. And so
Yeah.
you crowdfund that, and the promise is, like, hey, for $50 or $20 or $150, you're going to get my first course on how to help your kids see their value beyond their grades. You are loved beyond your grades. Maybe that's the subtitle. There's your tagline for the course.
Yeah.
You do a whole course just on that. It's a conversation starter, a worksheet. They watch a video with you, and then they have a conversation around the kitchen table. I would crowdfund that for $50.
Yeah. I actually created the curriculum. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I created the curriculum. I got my camera to do that. And now that's kind of like why I'm leaving teaching to have space to create that stuff and to be able to do that. And this is like a big part of it, you know. And I didn't think to make a curriculum for parents. I've made curriculum for kids, but I didn't think to make curriculum for parents or teachers. But I think that that's genius. I think it's a really great idea.
Well, and you're not leaving teaching, you're leaving the system.
Mm-hmm.
You're just leaving the system. And you might go back into the system.
Yeah.
Like once you get this running, you will be invited back into the system. The system wants you. I mean, if they're asking you for professional development content, the door is open. Yeah, you're needed. Okay, let's can we move into prayer mode?
Yeah, because I have to go to class soon.
Okay. Of course you do. Okay.
I didn't realize how much time passed, and I was like, uh-oh.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move into prayer mode. And so I just want to set this content. I think what we would be beautiful is if we could envision the future of youth empowerment. And just let's just flow, but have a few lines. So I'll just like sort of set the context here. So we put our focus on our hearts. Our breathing is natural. And we give thanks that we're all here gathered with the intention of goodwill. And now we're going to put our prayerful thoughts, our heart-centered energy on the youth of the world. And my prayer is that we live in a world where all teachers tell their students that they love them. My prayer is that we live in a world where children do not associate their divine value with their productivity or their grades. My prayer, and then I'm going to hand it over to you, Donovan, warrior. My prayer is that we live in a world where educators, teachers, youth empowerment people are live abundant lifestyles. They earn beautiful wages. They can have a beautiful lifestyle to do this really profound work. Yeah, that society values this work. Donovan, what's your vision, your prayerful vision?
My prayer is that all kids feel safe and feel loved. My prayer is that we start a youth movement that is powered by them and supported by youth advocates. My prayer is that there is an abundance for the people who work for kids, for the people who put their heart and soul into kids. My prayer is that there's an abundance of love for kids in the world. And my biggest prayer is that we will see the sacredness and divine beings as they are and treat them that way and shift the way that we view kids. That's my biggest prayer.
May it be so. May it be so. Thank you, Donovan Taylor Hall. Everybody can find him at DonoFriend on Instagram. I don't do predictions, but if I did, I would say crowdfunding and this love just emanating through the world. And you're a light on the planet. I'm glad you were born, and yeah, you have my heart.
I just want to reflect that back to you too. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this. This means so much to me. I can't wait to talk to you more about this, especially because I want to get some consulting from you for sure. However I need to do it. I feel like I'm living in a dream, and I've been working so hard for this for so long that it just feels like it's starting to really spread. And I just want you to know how much of an agent you are in that. And so thank you. And also, like, shameless plug for anyone who is listening, I am doing youth coaching. And so I'm doing individual coaching with kids. And if you are interested, on my Instagram, there is a link that can schedule a call. And I would love to do that work with parents or even any teachers who might be interested in work. So that's
okay. So this is what we're going to do. We will take this video. I mean, this will get posted on all my socials today, but we'll also send this to my list. So my team will get with you and get all that information so we can send this out as like a Coach with Donovan thing to my mailing list. Yeah. Okay.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. 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 Let's do it. Let's go love
Thank
love the youth.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you. I
yeah,
have so much love for you. I have so much gratitude for you.
that's mutual.
You are divine.
Mutual.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, you've taught us so much. You go teach today, and love, respect.
Love to
Yeah, thank you.
you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.